evening, everybody. Welcome back. It's Case by Case. My name's Amy. Uh, Happy Friday, everybody. Hope you are ready for another deep dive. Tonight, I have Kim, David Kallenberger's sister, joining us again. After last week's 4.5 hour live, we feel like there's still even more to talk about and a few little updates that we're going to go over. So, hey, Shadow. Hey, Under Your Scars. I'm going to bring Kim on, and there's a good possibility that David's son, Eric, will be joining us as well. So, without further ado, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Hi, Kim.
Hi. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's tuning in. We have some new stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we have some new things to talk about and a couple of additions to the name list on top of all of the ones that we went over last week. And these names that we're discussing are names that obviously have been discussed by witnesses. They've been discussed by family who were close to the case and even law enforcement. So these are not, reaching for the stars and hoping that we grab one. These are things that are pertinent to this case. And after all these years, it is really time for some things to get done. And we still have not been able to exhaust all avenues leading to Talitha Beckley. And the fact that we now know that David and his wife, Valerie, lived in Monticello and Delphi really strikes a nerve simply because, Valerie had big, a big drug problem between heroin and meth. And in that area, that's kind of the Palladino thing. And I can't say that for sure, but the fact that we have information that was not solicited, it was information that someone came out and simply handed over and told us what Talitha had conveyed, that's not really information that somebody would pull out of the thin air. So it's worth looking at. And unfortunately, this is now fallen into a cold case status. And Detective Holman and Detective Kendall's no longer on the case, is he, Kim?
I think he's still considered on the case, but he's not doing anything with it. The new guy is Detective Richter.
Yeah. And like I told you the other day, they were both just listed in some documents in the Delphi filing for being subpoenaed for records, not for, anything else but information that they obviously are thought to have. But I know that I put it in the presentation for tonight, but you actually reached out to Detective Holman this week, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I reached out to him and asked him to look at some things for me, but he asked me to email him a list of what I wanted to know about. And I've had other things going on and I haven't been able to sit down because when I do, I want to be able to completely concentrate on everything I want to know. So I want to do it all.
Right.
I want to do a very good, thorough job. So I'm still trying to put everything together. So.
Well, the statement that he made, that kind of like, I took it like, when you sent it to me, it was kind of like, wow. The way he brushed it off when he said, well, most of the people that were involved in David's case are now deceased.
Oh,
well,
yes.
Like who? Like those, that would be nice to know who you're referring to.
Exactly. Well,
so.
I know of a couple of them. I mean, I know Valerie's dead. I know that Tony Richards is dead, who's the half brother of David Grader, and possibly Bill, the guy that lived with Brian Phillips and his wife Rhonda Head. He may possibly be deceased because he had told me back in 2016 that he had cancer, but I wasn't sure if he was just telling me that, because everybody in that group just lies. I just don't get it, and there were some other names also that, didn't get brought up last week. And one of them was Billy Wheat. It's a female. I know that she knows a lot of these people, and, I'd like to delve a little bit more into their relationships. I know
You said
she
Billy
knows
Weed.
people that you're going to be talking about this evening. I know she's friends with him, and I know that she's posted on his Facebook page about how she misses him and loves him and all this. I don't know how they're related, but she's one of the people on his Facebook page, and he's one of the people on hers. Her name, Wheat, like wheat bread.
Oh, okay. And that whose account is she posting on?
Jason's. Bader.
Jason Bader. Okay. Okay. Well, I know that it's the only one that I've got, and this will be mostly for like the replay crew. What? How do you feel about me playing the news feed that we had last week, and then you, after it's over, you correcting the errors that are in it that way? Because honestly, when you search David's case, I believe one of the other news feeds has now been removed.
Right.
This is the first one that comes up. So if you want me to play it, and then
WLFI, I can't find theirs. I searched for it today and I couldn't find it.
okay, so I can play it, and then whatever commentary that you feel is incorrect, I'll let you discuss it that way. It's addressed.
Sure.
That work? Okay.
Yep. Although I've done this umpteen times in the past, and everybody still gets it wrong. Everybody still keeps going according to what they say, and it just blows
and
my
I think yeah. And I probably would, I mean, I'm not, what is his name? Is it Sloan? Dean Sloan?
Dean Sloan, yes.
I wonder if he's still with us.
That's a good question, because he was kind of getting up there in years when all this took place, and it's been 8 years now almost since David disappeared. So it's a possibility that he's no longer with us either. But right. I would be definitely interested to know that, whether he is.
Right.
I mean,
all right, guys. So we're going to take a look at
time. So
right. We're going to take a look at the some of the reporting that was being done back at the time that David went missing. And then Kim believes, or Kim not believes, but Kim says that there's some things that were stated incorrectly in this press release. So I'll let her, when it's over, I'll let her address that.
Okay.
In a story that we've been following since March, when a Lafayette man was reported missing. Witnesses are now coming forward with new information about the day 47-year-old David Kallenberger was last seen. News 18's Alexis Moberger joins us now with an update on the investigation. Alexis?
Jeff, state troopers last saw him on I-65 near Edinburgh, down on his way to visit his sister. Kallenberger told the trooper help was on the way. Returned hours later and found Kallenberger's motorcycle, but no sign of him. Since he went missing, police have followed up on 165 different leads.
That's the last day I seen him.
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna pull us up, and I'm gonna give this full screen. I had to adjust the volume on it, so that might have been why it was glitching. So give me just a second here. Yeah. Let's see.
Witnesses are now coming forward with new information about the day 47-year-old David Kallenberger was last seen. News 18's Alexis Moberger joins us now with an update on the investigation. Alexis?
Jeff, state troopers last saw him on I-65 near Edinburgh when his motorcycle broke down on his way to visit his sister. Kallenberger told the trooper help was on the way.
Well, nope,
Troopers
it's not-
returned 8
it's
hours
not
later
me.
and found Kallenberger's motorcycle, but no sign of him. Since he went missing, police have followed up on 165 different leads.
That's the last day I seen him. Never seen him no more.
Dean Sloan was one of the last people to see David Kallenberger after he went missing nearly 6 months ago.
But he was wringing wet a sweat.
Kallenberger's motorcycle broke down near Edinburgh on I-65 March 15th. Sergeant Jerry Holman says Kallenberger was near the mile marker for several hours. He broke down, then was seen on both sides of the interstate.
Sickle sat there for about 2 to 3 days.
Kallenberger broke down about a half mile up the road from where we are now, and neighbors say he pushed his bike up to this area, then went to neighbors, asked to borrow a phone, and even left his helmet at one of the houses.
He was wanting to call someone. He didn't say one was coming.
Detectives say Kallenberger had a history of drug use.
He was so sweaty and hot and weird acting.
Investigators have followed up on 165 leads since the investigation started and have interviewed more than 30 people. An Edinburgh tow truck driver who didn't want to be interviewed on camera remembers seeing a woman pick up Kallenberger in a maroon Pontiac the night he vanished.
He said he saw my brother standing there talking to a woman in this car.
According to Holman, the car is registered in both Kallenberger's and his wife Valerie Kallenberger's name.
There's just so much that points to it being my sister-in-law.
You know, there are some suspicions that she may know a little more information than what she's given.
We tried calling Valerie Kallenberger for an interview.
The person you are trying to reach is not accepting calls at this time.
Police have been sweeping the area, combing fields where Kallenberger was last seen for any clues.
They had flyers that they put out theirs when they were here.
Expecting the worst, hoping for the best.
But as police continue to investigate, a broken family hopes for the best.
David Kallenberger's sister, Kimberly Hansen, is now offering a $1,000 reward for any information that leads to his whereabouts. Kallenberger is described as 5'10", weighing 176 pounds, with a shaved head and several tattoos. Alexa.
I think it's probably like Wi-Fi rush hour around here right now. Everybody's getting home from work.
Everybody's
So
having
my
problems.
Wi-Fi is probably getting.
Everybody's having problems with Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I moved.
Anyway, especially if you have AT&T, I think it is, or and Verizon. Those were two of the ones that were having real issues.
Hey,
Wi-Fi's
Cherie.
out.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, her Wi-Fi's out.
Yeah.
Hey, Bell. Del.
Hi,
How are you?
guys. Thanks for joining.
Yeah,
so
Shadow's here. Shadow's
Hi,
here
Shadow.
too. So if we have, if we get anything incorrect or you think that we're leaving anything out, just go ahead and let me know, Shadow. And you can also message me in the private chat. So.
Okay, so about the video that you just played. So there's a couple things on there. It was not a truck driver. First of all, let me say this. They said that a state trooper saw him broke down on the highway. That's not how it happened. Let me clear this up. He was seen by a tow truck driver. The tow truck driver called the state police and informed them that his bike was laying on the side, or that it had fallen over or was down. And so the tow truck driver went there. He waited for the state trooper to arrive, and they both talked to my brother. My brother did say that he had somebody on the way because they wanted to put his bike on the tow truck and take him up to the next town. I guess there was a Harley Davidson shop there, and thought that he would get it fixed there. And he said, no, I've already got somebody coming, because he had made a call.
Do you think he really had somebody coming, or do you think he just said that to get them away?
He said that
And
to
was
get
it,
them to leave, one. And two, he had called and left a message for Bill Muse on Bill Muse's cell phone, telling him he was broken down, what mile marker he was at, and that he needed him to come pick him up or get someone else to come pick him up.
okay. So go. I know we talked about it a little bit last week, but you did go to Bill Muse's house, right? And
Yeah,
for anyone watching and anyone watching on the replay, um, excuse me, he was known at that time as Biker Bill,
correct.
and I've not been able to locate him. And do you know if law enforcement ever talked to him?
Well, I don't know if they did or not. You know, they claim they talked to everybody that I told them about. They also told me in the beginning that there were no leads except for the tow truck driver, and the two people that they spoke to right there by the by where he was stranded. They said there was no,
Well,
they didn't talk to anybody else. And then in that video, they said they'd followed up on 165 leads,
and they had
which
talked to
they
30
told me that
people.
they hadn't hardly gotten anything. In fact, they
Well,
said
and
they
then
didn't have any leads come into their crime line.
they said they had no leads.
No leads.
Well, what's interesting is that they just in that news report they stated that the tow truck driver stated that he was picked up by a woman in the burgundy car, and then
Right.
they followed right back up with saying the car was registered to David and Valerie.
Correct.
How would they know that? How would they know that?
Because what happened was when they went to Valerie's house to get her car to find out what kind of car they drove. Okay. And they
Hi,
went
Jack.
to, hi. And then when they went there, there was the maroon Pontiac with the front end damage, just like the tow truck driver had stated.
Mm-hmm.
And so they ran the tag to find out whose name it was in. And then they sent the picture to the tow truck driver and to the couple out there that night. And they all three of them positively identified that as being the vehicle that they saw out there that night and that he got into.
I just wonder if she had people in the car with her. You know what I mean?
All I know is, all I can tell you about that is that he said that he saw a woman in the car driving. He didn't say whether he saw anybody else in the car.
And see, when it just seems like the fact that Talitha would make the statement, a guy on a motorcycle when he called for help. Like, I just don't feel like the call for help was emphasized. Right. Like, why would she, I could see her sitting in a jail cell talking about, yeah, I know the people who did that, but she's implicating herself. And to me, it makes sense because I feel like when you look at the past with her and the Palladinos, that the loyalty between them it runs deep, and you have to ask yourself why. So, D-Bell says, did I get new glasses? No. No, these are, listen, it's getting pathetic. Okay. I have probably 10 pairs laying around the house because it's getting to the point where, I have the computer screen sitting way back. It's further than arm's length and I still need readers. So I need to go to the eye doctor. Um,
Wait, just wait. It gets better.
yeah. Well,
My second pair within a 6-month period, and I can't see.
see, and I've not, yeah, and not being able to see is horrible. And then when I take
It
them
is.
off, once I wear them for so long, when I take them off, my eyes start to water.
That's why mine do the same thing, and that's why I keep doing this so I can see through the bifocal part. I've got the screen probably 2.5, almost 3 feet from me, and I'm looking through my bifocals to see the screen, and
Yeah.
it's still blurry. And it doesn't matter what I do, if I pull back or if I sit closer. I mean, I can see you okay right now. I just moved up. I'm about maybe 15 inches from the screen, and I'm having to look through my bifocals.
Yeah. I'm not looking. This will be the first, when I go, I'll probably get contacts because, I can't do these all day at work and,
Make sure
not
that
to mention,
you've got a good prescription and that you're going to be able to see through them before you order contacts, though. Unless you're going to buy the disposables, then it doesn't really matter. I mean,
thanks, Sheree. Sheree,
I think I
or
need
no,
to.
that's not, no, that's, under your scars. Yeah, cheaters ruin your eyes. Yeah, they probably do. But temporarily I can't see without them. So, well, anywho, back to that. Okay, that's what I wanted to, because I don't think that we talked about it so much last week. And H. So refresh everyone's memory. H was a woman that Valerie did not meet until after David went missing. However, Valerie attempted, now correct me if I'm wrong, Kim, but Valerie attempted to tell detectives that H had her vehicle the night that David went missing.
She didn't attempt to. She did say that. She flat out lied and said that she had her car that night.
And H said, I should have pulled those notes, but H had told me directly, because I talked to her, that obviously that wasn't true. She hadn't met Valerie until after David went missing. And then I know that Kim touched last week on the fact that somebody had vandalized that car and poured gasoline in it. Now, how long before David went missing were you told that? And were you told that in the presence of both Valerie and David? Or the reason I'm asking is because who Valerie blamed it on when she was telling H about the gasoline in the car.
I don't know if she told her that, because from what I understand, when the police went out there, there was no gasoline smell in the car.
Okay, so Valerie had told H that we're just protecting her identity.
She told her thing, because I don't remember her saying that to me, H.
Yes, H told me last week simultaneously that Valerie had told her that David had left her and that he was having a breakdown and he had poured gasoline in the car and he had painted the front porch black. And I asked her, I said, well, when you met Valerie, was the front porch painted black? And she said, yes. Now you can explain who said what actually about the front porch.
So here's the deal. When I went up there in January to meet David and Valerie, I didn't go to the house. They came down to Salisbury, where my sister lived. So prior to David going missing, I had never been to the house. However, the car, I had been in the car. And when they got to my sister's house, the car reeked of the gasoline.
So that was in January.
Yes. So here's the thing.
Do you remember what time in January? The beginning, middle, end?
It was around the 15th.
Okay, so you're talking the gasoline happened, whatever happened with the gasoline in the car happened pretty much 2 months prior.
A couple of months prior, yes. And here's the thing. So I asked them what happened, and they said that, and I don't believe that this is who did it, just because I don't think Eric would do that to his dad's car. But she told me that that Eric had gotten mad at his dad, and that they believed that he poured the gasoline in through the sunroof.
Okay, so Valerie told you directly that she thought Eric did it.
Yes.
Then she turned around because there's no other way for H to have known about that story unless Valerie told her, because David was already missing.
Right.
So
but
now,
here's the thing. I don't remember. H never told me that. She never mentioned that to me.
She told me that last Saturday on the phone.
Okay. And H also had told me to be in the beginning, and I think that her memory may just be a little off. I could be wrong. And H, if you're out there listening, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe my memory serves me where H told me that she met Valerie, or that when she met Valerie, it was like a week later, they were at Brian Phillips' house, and she said that her husband had been missing for a week, that he had gone camping and disappeared, and she didn't know what had happened to him.
Well, that's not what let me see here. If this is even the right notebook. I have like 20 notebooks floating around here.
Now, this could all be cleared up if Detective Holman would speak to someone and clear it up, because they spoke to her.
So last Saturday, when she called me, she didn't say anything about camping. She said that Valerie, her story is still similar to what
I know, but here's the thing that's important about the camping.
Okay. Well, you said that he took the camping trip on the bike, or took the camping equipment on the bike, and that's not true.
That she said he took his tent and sleeping bag and stuff, and he went camping. He was going to go camping and fishing. And then when I find out about all of this, when I find out that she's selling his stuff, I asked my niece, because she had been there, and I asked Haley because she was there while she was selling his stuff, and she corroborated with the fact that the camping gear was at the house.
Gotcha. Well, she had stated that when she met Valerie, that she said David had left. See, this just all goes to, the suspicious behavior of Valerie.
Yep.
All of the different stories as to where David was, when he went missing, why he was missing. But according to H, it was because he had a mental breakdown. He vandalized the car. He painted the front porch, and he left her.
Right.
Cherie, he is absolutely the same guy.
It is the same detective. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Detective Holman is the same guy, which, there's that case is just really, I can't, with that case, it's a lot. And,
Every case that's surrounding that area is, I went online today and I was looking at some stuff, and I came across this article that said that there are over 7,000 unsolved cases in Indiana.
well, just look at, do you remember the exact number?
It was
But this video,
7,900 and something.
well, the video that I sent you, I believe it aired 8 months ago. And those were unidentified bodies in the state of Indiana that are sitting in morgues and
I believe
mortuaries.
you're correct about that. Yes.
And they were like 6 or 7,000 unidentified bodies, and that they were basically trying to create a program using genealogy
Yes.
to help identify these bodies. Well, then I took it a step further, and there are, I believe, several hundred unidentified babies. And there is, I
Oh my
believe,
gosh.
almost, yes, because I'm going back to looking at the statement that Talitha made that she left a baby in the woods. We know that story is true. The
Yep.
baby's father was on there talking about, where's my child?
Yep.
And he stated, you were 35 weeks pregnant. That's a whole baby.
Yep.
And but there's several, but it's just going to take a lot. It would take a lot of time to research it. But I came across right off the top like 4 or 5 babies found alive throughout, like, at different times. And I think one was found like in a park along a fence line in a bag, and it was a little baby girl, and she was still alive, but I couldn't see where they ever identified the mother. But it would take, I mean, how,
Well, you got to
what if,
remember, some of those babies are due to trafficking. They've been sold for sex.
Mhm.
I can't even fathom. I was also reading an article about how up there are all these child molesters. It's like, oh my God. It was case after case after case of child molesters. And these were babies that were being molested. One guy, I think he had like 3 kids, all 3 and under, that he molested. They were his own children.
you're starting to see that, like,
And
I
this
don't
was
know
up
if it's
there.
just,
This was in, I believe it was in either Monticello or in Lafayette. I can't remember exactly right now, but yeah.
I don't know what it is that, well, obviously, I think it was initially
I hear you, Del
Delphi
Bell. I
case.
would take in a baby in a heartbeat to save its life,
Right. I mean, obviously, following the Delphi case for all the years that I have, um, I think that I feel like I know Indiana very well, like, area wise. Obviously, there's a core group of counties that, a lot of the people involved in the case, persons of interest, and, all of the different connections, they all kind of filter around the same counties. But with all of the cases that have come up throughout the Delphi case that have been quite odd, there's one there's one defining factor throughout all of them, and that's ISP, the Indiana
Right.
State Police.
Yeah.
that you continuously see. And what's interesting is that you've got, for example, I was researching a little bit on another case that happened in Crawfordsville. Shadow, maybe you're familiar with this one, but I know when you said that they wouldn't allow Franklin to handle David's case, ISP insisted on taking it over. Then I look at this case out of Crawfordsville, and Crawfordsville police handled it. And it was a situation where a man, well, first of all, 911 calls started coming in. I'm sure Shadow knows what I'm talking about. That there was a unalived body hanging off the side of this bridge without it was missing a head. And come to find out, it all linked back to the husband. The Del Bell says, I think you need to change the battery in your parent. Now, when I start talking and he thinks I'm not paying attention to him, but that's nothing. If I was to put him in the other room, he would literally scream, Mom, Mom, what are you doing? Come here. I have the snacks. Here. Gotta be quiet or you have to go in the cage and I have to put the blanket on. But Shadow says, yes, the head was in the basement. But Crawfordsville's not a huge place. And they handled that case.
I lived there when I was in 3rd grade.
But I do find, did you? I do find that ISP is the common denominator in a lot of these cases, and the same detectives
that are not being solved. Why do you think I said I think they're involved in something?
I don't know. I think just working on Ashley's case, following. I have followed the Stephen Avery case for years, and it's a completely different type of case. However, the underlying factors in that case are very similar to Ashley's. Small county, they think no one's going to be watching.
No one's paying attention.
And the way that things get hidden, the way that things get inadvertently left out, there's all, it makes it, to me, as much as, I used to work for a large police department. And we have, and I'm sure across the country, we have great law enforcement. We have great prosecutors, but we unfortunately also have some underhanded, corrupt officers and prosecutors that when you're, and I'm going to say it again, you look at Nick McClelland in Carroll County. This is his first big case as a prosecutor. But when you go back and you look at him as a defense attorney, all of these serpents that he defended throughout the years, I mean, I believe he has defended every single Palladino in that family at one point or another. And plea deal after plea deal after plea deal. They don't serve any time. He's friends with the locals. He has family that is involved with some of the same shit that the Palladinos and a lot of those other people out there are involved in. And it makes you wonder. You don't want to believe that, but you would be stupid to turn a blind eye to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and what did she say? Okay, Del Bell says she thinks for the longest time it was a low battery smoke detector.
What was that other message? I missed it. You moved it too fast.
Let me see. Shadow says Michael Parks killed his wife, Hope Parks, if you want to look up the case. Yes, I was looking it up the other day. But Yes, that's exactly who it is.
This
Under
one.
your scar says, yep. My friend's cat, gone now,
Oh.
was named Zipperhead for short. She would pretend she's on the phone, and he goes up to the side of her chair and bats her on the paw. He was hilarious. Yeah, well, this one right here is like a 5-year-old.
Well, they live
Here.
forever, so yeah, he probably is like a 5-year-old or a 2-year-old.
Yeah, he's 22. He's 22.
Oh, okay.
When he starts, he's I can tell he's about to get riled up. He's going to start telling the dogs what to do, and I see it when he starts moving around like that. So you're about to go in the cage, bud. I don't want to do it. It's early, but you got to be quiet. You've been out since I got home. I feel bad. Okay, so what else? What else about age? We covered, the painting. Okay, talk about the painting of the porch that she told me about, because that is something that Valerie told her that David did, but what were you told by the neighbors?
That Valerie did it. And I was told that by Rick, who lives straight across the street from where David and Valerie lived. And so he saw it happening.
And did he happen to ask her why she was painting?
No.
And
No.
was she painting all of the steps or just certain spots? Or I mean, was it like she was trying to make it look
he painted
like
the
realistic?
steps, and I believe the porch was. I believe I remember when I was there in May that the porch and the steps were all painted black. And I just don't understand why you would paint your porch black unless you really like the color black, first of all. And second of all, it was out of the blue that it was painted, because the rest of the house was a crappy yellow and it hadn't been painted probably in years. And why would you just paint the porch? My feelings are she was hiding blood stains, and that was why she painted that porch. Now, I believe that Haley knows about that porch also.
Yeah,
because she was there.
There's the house.
Right. And what is that? Who is that on behind that?
Oh,
is that a person?
Sorry. Yes, I put a heart over top of them because it's a little girl.
Oh.
She was facing towards the street, so I blurred her out.
That may have been Billy.
No, no, this is a little. This is recent. This is off of Zillow. So this must be a different family living there.
So they've since painted the porch back to the color of the house. However, you can see the black underneath on the steps.
Yes, and I even I think I showed you this. Let me see here. Which way do I go? Let me see. Whoops, wrong way. Good Lord. This is the side of the house. Now, if you could, so I could not maneuver.
So side, okay, that's a corner right there. Okay.
On the front, the bottom.
If you go down, if you're looking at the house, okay, and you see where the picture, where the that big window, I can't think of what it's called.
Bay window?
Yeah, the bay window. If you go toward the direction of the left side, okay, the way that window that's on the left is facing, that's how you can, that's the direction of Rick Scripter's house from their house, from this house. And he was like the second or third house down.
Now so it wouldn't, for some reason on this.
Then either on over there by the porch area, I see a piece of plywood and all that stuff. None of that was there.
Okay. Well, when what I tried to maneuver around because this was what they call it on like a street view. But
Uh-huh.
anytime there was a tree, it would get blurry because I was trying to get behind the house here because there's actually I can't tell if it's a driveway or an alley to the
Okay,
far
so
outside of the
behind the
picture to the
house,
left.
there is an alley. Okay. It's actually
Is that
to
where
the
the
other
garage
side of
is?
the house, there's a driveway. The driveway's on the other side of the house. And
Yes. Right
and
down here at the bottom right, you can see
right,
it's got like a little wall going up the side of it.
right. And right back there, if you can see it at the bottom there, very, very faintly, there's a little triangle there. That's where the garage is or was. It looks like it's still there. Behind there. But there's an alleyway behind that house beyond that garage and everything.
And when she started selling his stuff, was she putting it out here in the front yard?
Yes.
Wow. So let's see. I tried to zoom in. There was a little girl running up the porch. The closer I got, the more blurry it got. But
Right.
you can almost see, like it seems like it's hard to explain. It doesn't seem like in the original photo that I looked at, like the whole porch and steps had been fully painted. It almost looked like the fronts of the steps. Back up one more time. Like, on each step, the front ledge of each step, it looked like it had been painted over and there was black paint underneath.
It was.
But I mean, so where would she, well, you probably don't know unless a neighbor told you, where would she normally park? Like if something happened to David.
I do know where. She would
Along the
park in the
street?
driveway in front of the garage. When you go up the driveway in front of the garage, the road comes back to the left. Or the driveway,
Okay.
it kind of turns to the left there. And that's where she would park that van. Well, that's what she was driving when I was there, was the van.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to the car. Oh, I remember. She said it broke down and she left it. She distanced herself from that car.
Well, I know that H had said that Valerie did try to sell her the car, and Valerie told her for the longest time that it didn't have a battery.
Right.
And that the trunk didn't work.
Right.
And when the police spoke with H, they told her,
because it was working fine when I was there in January.
Well, and then, okay, so she was supposedly at Dave Grader's house that day, correct?
Yes, that morning.
And she left Dave Grader's house in that car that same day. Right.
Correct. That's the car she was in when she left the night before or the day before. When she left the house the day before, she was in that car.
Well, she had told H that there was no battery and the trunk didn't work. Now, everyone needs to remember that there was a sheet with David's blood on it found in the trunk. So just hypothetically, and I'm not saying this is what happened, but if we were to speculate that she painted, because the neighbor said she was painting the porch black after David went missing.
Yep.
We would have to assume that she parked in the driveway, and it goes up and it's like an L hook where the nose of the car would have been facing the right side of the house here. That means if David was injured by the time she got him back to the house, they would have had to have gone in the front door?
That was the only way to get in there, unless you went all the way around to the other side of the house, over on the car, over there where that white car's parked. But here's the
Okay.
deal. When you pull, if you notice out in the front there, going across the front of the porch out a little ways, you'll see where the sidewalk is. And that goes all the way back to that garage. I'm not talking about the one that comes down from the steps. There's another one that tees off. If you're looking at the house, there's one that tees off right there, up close to the house, that goes all the way across and then back to where the garage is.
Gotcha.
Okay, so, and
would it be physically possible for her, if David would have been injured, and I mean, I would think it's safe to assume that at some point he was in the trunk of that car, and how convenient did Talitha Beckley say he was put in the trunk of the car? And that has never, that's never been discussed on the news media.
Right.
That was something that you knew because the detectives down the road told you there was blood in the car on a sheet that belonged to David. And here we are
right away.
In 2017, when she's in jail with this person in Tippecanoe County, that she's stating that David was put in the trunk of the car. But
right.
is it even physically possible, whether he was in the trunk of the car at that time or not, could she have gotten him from the driveway into the house by herself if he was incapacitated?
No way. No way. No way.
She would have had to have had help.
Oh, absolutely. She was only maybe 5'2", 5'3". She was not a big woman, a big girl at all. Now, she may have weighed 125, 130. You know, there's no way I couldn't have gotten him in there. A grown man by himself could not have gotten David into that house.
He
weighed 175 pounds.
I mean, that just, it's either she had people with her or she took him somewhere that was set up for her to deliver him to.
I'm telling you, this is my belief. They were lying in wait in that house. They were waiting for him. I guarantee you, she pulled in that driveway. They got out of the car. They walked into the house, and he was attacked. Either that, or he walked into the house, and they're like, "Oh, let's party," and they waited until he was vulnerable and then attacked him. If not, the only way he was on that property was in that shed, in that fridge.
So, do you recall if Valerie ever, at any point in time after David went missing, tried to, hey, Shadow, do me a favor and see if you can pull up a distance from, you know what? I'm going to send you the address. I'm going to send you the address to this house and pull up the distance between there and Monticello. I think it's only, if it's in Lafayette, I think it's not even an hour away. But, you know, I just feel like a lot of the things that I've been told, and there's a lot of things that I've not even discussed because I can't substantiate it. But it seems like when it comes to that now, and here's the thing with Talitha, if that is the connection like I've said, Talitha may not had to have even been physically involved. She may have been involved with the people who may have been involved. And
Right.
she's like an octopus. I mean, she's got tentacles everywhere, and she has a lot of connections in Monticello. She has a lot of connections in Lafayette, and she has huge connections in Logansport. And at one point in time, which is even more interesting, which I don't even think I've touched on this yet. And Shadow, you might have to go back into the Dropbox and pull up this information. But when she was discussing David's case, she also made reference to being involved in Karina McClurkin's case, who is another one that had it was a case that involved an 18-year-old girl who had supposedly stolen some meth from some big time dealers or whatever the case may have been. And she was supposedly given a hot shot and taken out. And her remains weren't found, I believe, until like two years later. That was in Kokomo, Indiana. And
Right.
lo and behold, Shadow, was it because that was around 2016? We have an address on Talitha from 2016 living in Kokomo.
Your sound is going in and out.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me turn this up a little bit. Did you catch all of that, or was I too blurry?
I got it all, but it was really going in and out. I heard about this case through
Yeah. And the thing is, I've talked to Karina's grandmother, and Karina's grandmother said, now this is just based on what she told me, and like everything else, I have it in writing. She told me that he was never an FBI informant, that his family has confirmed that, and that
well, he's saying CI, whatever that is.
criminal informant, and that she claimed that Karina's grandmother claims that he did not encounter Karina that night at all, that he encountered another girl, and he has used this as a platform. Now, that's what she's told me, but she said and I'm going to tell you right now, he's made claims that he helped put Ashley in jail and he did this.
Yep.
I've got all of the paperwork from that court case. His name is nowhere.
His family or her family should sue him.
They
should take him to court over that. They should put a gag order on him that he can't do this. Because he had me buying into, until I met you, he had me kind of buying into what he was selling.
Well, it was neither here nor there for me when because I took it at face value, when he talked about Karina's case. It wasn't until I spoke to Karina's grandmother that she said, he's lying. He did not run into Karina that night. She said his name is nowhere in Karina's case at all. It's not on any document. It's not, she said that the police department there is sick and tired of his BS. He's been thrown out of the police department so many times, and that she called him a liar. And I just, well, that's unfortunate because I always took him as someone who was trying to help. But then when I seen how, he literally took me, when he found out that I had reached out to you, he immediately jumped online and without any proof at all started spewing that Ashley Garth was giving me the information about your case, and now he's responsible for putting her in jail, and he's trying to connect her to this drug ring in Kokomo, and none of that is true.
Right.
She did not know who Gabe Ellis was. She even had me pull up a picture. And she's like, I've never seen him, and what people don't stop and realize is the age difference. You know, when Gabe was at the prime of his, criminal activity, or the beginning of his criminal activity, Ashley Garth was a freshman in high school.
Mm.
These people are way over her age, and her only criminal claim to fame is being in a relationship with Garrett Fucktard Kurtz. Other than that, Ashley really didn't have any criminal history. So, anyway, but yes, so when and Shadow, I'm sure her fingers are going a mile an hour, with that address in the year, but I do believe it was around that time that Talitha did live in Kokomo. But it just always seems like it would be circulated around drugs. Like what would it be for a group like that? Um, but then again, Talitha also, has a lot of connections with bikers. And was Valerie into bikers? Like hanging out at biker bars, running with biker groups? I know David wasn't affiliated with any club, but was Valerie?
That's a good question. That's a question for Eric and Ashley. And
we could be
I know that her best friend was Biker Bill's wife, and I know he had several bikes, and he may, because he's called Biker Bill, he may have been affiliated with some, and so therefore there may be a connection to that.
Right. And I mean, I don't know. All I know is, huh?
I'm going to reach out again to Rick and ask him, because he told me the other night when I was talking to him that he knew where Biker Bill lives.
Now,
And
but you
wouldn't. I don't remember.
And now you prior to that, you knew where he lived before, right?
I did.
And do you know if law enforcement ever spoke to him?
Yeah.
They did.
In the very beginning.
But they never conveyed to you what they talked to him about.
Nope.
Okay, so
here's the thing. They never formally questioned any of these people. They went there and said, "Hey, this is what happened. Do you know any information?" They said no, and that was all they did. They turned around and left and never went back. They never brought any of them in for formal questioning. They said they didn't have cause to.
I don't get that. I don't get the blood in the car not being enough for probable cause to search the home. That does not make
I know,
a damn
right?
bit of sense. What is probable cause?
They said they walked into the house. She told them that they could come in, because I guess they asked her, or at least, I don't know if Holman was there, but Kendall. Now, this is what he said. So it's, you got to take it with a grain of salt, because at this point, I don't believe anything Kendall says.
Now, and for those who are watching or
telling the truth about things based, as far as he knows, is the truth based on what Kendall told him. But that doesn't mean that Kendall's telling him the truth, is what I'm saying.
And didn't Valerie claim to you? Now, this is hearsay. This is what Valerie told Kim, was that Kendall was trying to wine and dine her.
Absolutely. He bought her dinner. He bought her, I'm sure his wife would love to hear this. He bought her cigarettes. He was always trying to do something for her, which, you know, I understand. Sometimes cops do stuff like that to try to, you know, warm up to people, to try to get them to talk. But here's the deal. Tim Kendall knew Valerie was never going to talk. So there was no need for him to do that because she was never going to talk.
But didn't H tell you the same thing about him?
Yep.
That he was attempting to do that with her as well?
Well, no, he was just super over friendly with her. I just felt
Okay.
like I could see what was going on there. She denies that that was going on, but I saw it with my own eyes. There were too many times that her and him were whispering on the phone. She would be off talking to him, and I was going, what the heck? You know, is she, you know, what are they so in cahoots about? And it seemed like every time I found out anything, before I could even tell them about it, she was on the phone talking to him. So, you know, I don't really
Valerie was, or H?
No,
Valerie was H.
And that's why I kind of walked away from her, as far as having her really do too much. And not only that, she was very unreliable as far as showing up when I needed her to be there. So I just said, forget it. And I'll just do it on my own. I kind of felt like, you know, she told me all this stuff, and I believe the stuff that she told me in the beginning, and I still believe all that's true. But I felt like, you know, she kind of used me to get herself back home.
Mm-hmm.
And then she didn't have any use for me after that. Because she was in Florida. She had come to Florida with some guy.
Who H did?
Yeah. She had come to Florida, and apparently they got into a big fight, and she decided she was going back home. So she got on a bus. I think they were in Lakeland or Polk City, one of those. And she got to Orlando, and I went and picked her up because I was getting ready to go to Indiana to do that search. And so I took her, I picked her up. She spent the night with me at my house, and we got up the next day and left to go to Indiana. And that was when I went up there in May. Hello?
Yeah, sorry, I put my bird up. I could hear you. Which search? When you went up, now was that the search? Now, there was a search that was taking place for David, and they did find remains at one point, didn't they?
They found some animal remains.
Okay. It was reported, I think, just initially as remains. I don't think I ever
it was
got any more information on that.
That was at that battleground park.
So do we who
and
moving on?
That's when Kendall went out there and played Mr. Big Shot and shut down our search.
He shut down the search?
Yeah.
Why?
He said they needed a permit to search the park. And it's like, for what? Why do they need a permit? Anybody can go out there and walk through the park and look around.
What?
Yeah, I mean, they threw, well, he threw roadblocks up at me at every turn. When he found out that I was going to do my own search at the river there by Dave Grader's house, him and a bunch of cops showed up and made us leave. Told us we were not allowed to search there.
Was it a public area?
It was just the side of the road. We weren't on anybody's property. It was just woods. It was along the banks of the Wabash River.
Now, did you ever pick up the phone and talk to Detective Holman about this? Like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, I called Holman. In fact, Holman came out there then at that point, and was there with Kendall, and they made us leave. And then when we went to search, or when they went to search, I wasn't there when they went to search Battleground Park. I had organized the search, and I had people out there, and his brothers, I believe it was two of his brothers. I know one of them at least was there. But he was there, and he was the one that got a hold of me, and that was Brad, but Brad's passed away now. But Brad called me and said, they're making us leave. They said, we can't search. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, it's public property. It's a park. You know, everybody's got a right to walk through the woods. It's not like you went there and you had to pay admission and nobody paid. There was no admission. So I didn't understand why they couldn't be there. And they said something along the lines that, well, there's a soccer field there. They don't need people out there searching. It's gonna hurt the reputation of the park. I don't care about the reputation of the park. I was told my brother was cut up in little pieces and scattered throughout that park. I wanted it searched, and they refused to do it.
So
Holman backed up everything Kendall did. If I called Holman and complained, all that did was get him to shut me down even harder.
And was it Kendall? Who was it? Kendall who said to tell you to stop?
Yep.
That you were going to get people killed?
Yep. He's the one that called David's mother, his adopted mother, and said, you need to tell her to go home. Not just stop, but to go home before she gets people killed.
Like,
and that was before before the search at Battleground, because that was a long time after. That was like the fall of 2016, like October of 2016 was when that search was supposed to be. Nope, they would not. They told them they had to leave. I don't recall.
I guess what's believable about this is the fact that there's been no follow-up. There's been nothing, a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year anniversary update on what's being done with the case, who's handling the case.
Nothing.
And it's almost like, well, he's gone and he's just going to be gone.
Yep. He's gone and we ain't worried about finding him.
That is very. Now, did Valerie at any point in time ever throw out, well, this probably happened to him because, and try to throw him under the bus in any way, being involved in something?
No, she tried to act like that he just, he probably got hurt. He might have had a heart attack.
But then he would have been near his bike.
He probably wandered off somewhere in the woods and got lost. First of all, David wouldn't have got lost in the woods. Okay. He had been in the woods his whole life. He could have found his way out of the woods. Okay. Anybody who knows to follow the sun or the moon can find their way out of the woods. Okay. But she said, oh, well, he probably had a psychotic episode and went off into the woods and something happened and he died. The thing that amazes me is that in every scenario that I've been given, it's always been he's been in the woods. Like they took him out in the woods and they shot him and they cut him up and they burned him. They burned his body.
Well, something happened in that house.
I agree.
I mean, there's no doubt he had to have been taken back to that house. First, let me get there. This is the luminol. We went over this last Saturday, but it's worth going over again. This is the luminol test that Kim did after Valerie moved out of the house. She got permission from the landlord to go in, and she did her own luminol test.
If you look at the picture on the right-hand corner, bottom right-hand corner, you see, well, go back to the second picture from the left. Okay. That's the drain area, and that's the shower head that you see laying there.
I see it. I see the shower head hanging there now. Okay. I don't know.
So now you go to the one on the right-hand corner, bottom corner. If you look at that's that same picture, but that's back away from it more. If you see the purple up in the corner there of that same picture,
like the haze.
Yeah, that's luminol.
Right.
Okay. It is lit up. That is a big old stain. That's not a great picture, but that's what that is. That's what I said. There was blood all over that shower floor.
And then this light switch up here where there's blood dripping down the wall behind it. Where is that light switch?
It's in that bathroom. I don't remember exactly where, but if you look, it's right next to the pipe. There's a pipe that's opened up in that wall.
Hang on, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry, guys, I'm going the wrong way.
No, you were on the pictures, but I think you needed to go back some.
I'm actually going back to look at the bathrooms.
Oh, okay. I believe it's behind. Okay, you see where the camera, that's me taking the picture in the mirror.
No, I don't think so. These are from more recent.
No,
these are from Zillow.
Really?
Yeah, I believe that's a man in that mirror.
That looks a lot like my arm in that picture.
Well, to the right of it on that little half wall right there.
Hold on.
Is that light switch? I can't tell. But the bathroom on the right is the bathroom that was in it was like a master bathroom in a bedroom.
That's not a light switch in the other one.
Okay.
The smaller one, I don't know. Now I'm confused.
Well, this bathroom on the right is the bathroom that was in the bedroom that Valerie refused to let anyone go into for a couple of days.
Correct.
Yes. And then this bathroom on the left-hand side was probably like the hallway bathroom?
That was the main bath. That was for the house. That was the main bathroom for the house. The other one was the bathroom. That was like a master bath.
Okay.
When I say master bath, I mean master bedroom with bath.
And that master bedroom is David had started sleeping in that room by himself, and he had put a lock on the door.
Yes. Now,
And
see,
then you,
if you go back to those pictures for a second.
okay, I'm gonna let my dogs in really fast. Go ahead,
Okay.
Kim. Take it
Not
over.
not these pictures. The one that shows the pipe and the yeah, the outlet. I wish I could. I need to go into my phone and maybe zoom in on that to be able to tell you where that's at for sure. Let me get to my phone.
So the picture on the far left-hand side, the bigger one on the left-hand side, you said those were fingerprints. Where are those from?
Those are in the those are between the living room and the kitchen. Those right there, I'm thinking, if I remember correctly, that's not the trim. That's actually on the door. And then right next to it, on to the right, was the full fingerprints. If I remember correctly, there should have been more pictures than that. Let me go to my Facebook.
There might have been a couple of more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I got them all in.
Okay.
But I don't know why tonight I can see it more clear, but that middle picture, you can definitely see the shower head hanging down the cord, and you can see the hole where the drain is.
Oh, here's another thing. Look at that shower head real close.
I see it.
Okay. You see what's wrapped around it?
It looks like a cord.
Yep. It's black rope. Tied to it.
I don't think, I mean, when were these pictures taken? How long after David went missing?
No more. Well, when I was there in May. Oh, wait a minute.
So,
let me think. No. It was after Valerie got evicted. Trying to think of when I went back up there.
Hey, Jack. She had to do this luminol test herself because the state they wouldn't do it even after Valerie moved out of the house and Kim got permission by the landlord to go in and do this luminol
without a he said I did not need, I had permission to go in there without a search warrant to do this luminol test, that me and or the police could all go in there and do this luminol test. And the police refused. Okay, let me see.
Shadow says I can find out when she got evicted. I feel like we have that in the Dropbox, Shadow. Can you go through Shadow really quick and see if we can pinpoint the year that Talitha was living in Kokomo?
I'm going to say that it was September.
So, April, May, June.
Because when I went back up there, it was hurricane season, and I went up with my grandkids.
So that would have been about 7 months after he went missing.
August or September, yeah.
And the neighbors upstairs, they never claimed they heard a commotion or anything
Nope.
that night.
Nope.
That is so strange. Well, do we want to talk? What do we want to? Who do we want to talk about?
Can you see my phone?
Take it. There you go. Yep. Push it up. There you go.
You see that? That's the other side of the door. That's the other side of the door frame.
So, okay.
I'm going to send this picture to you.
Okay. So, Kim, Shadow said that Valerie was evicted from this property on June 13, 2017.
Okay.
So that's March.
June what?
June 13th of 2017. So about a year later. A little more than a year, actually. March, April, May, June, July, August, September.
That don't make any sense.
That could have been when it was actually put on her record.
Right.
So she could have been asked to leave the property because the neighbors were the ones who had to go clean everything out, right?
Yep. I know it wasn't that long. I know it wasn't because I was up there when she got it. And I wouldn't have waited.
Oh, wait a minute. 2016 what? Is that she was evicted in 2016, Shadow?
June.
Hold on, so just a little bit of a delay. She said, no, I'm sorry, 2016. So, okay, so then it would have been, he went missing March 15th, April, May, June. So about exactly 3 months later.
What day? June what?
13th.
Okay. Yeah.
And then another thing about Valerie is David, what did you call his pill case that he wore around his waist?
It's a pill safe.
And is that like attached to his belt or is it like a fanny?
No, it was almost like a fanny pack, but it was made out of metal and it had like a leather strap that buckled around it.
And did he take medication every day?
Every day.
Because of his motorcycle accidents?
Yep.
Hey.
I'm going to send that to you a different way so you can enlarge it. Okay, let's see.
So he would have had his pill safe on him when he was leaving Lafayette, obviously, to go to Florida.
Yes. He had picked up his pills that morning.
And Valerie had the pill safe after he went missing?
Yes, ma'am. Because when he called me, he told me I have to go to the pharmacy and get my pills, and then I'm leaving.
So how do you know that she had the pill safe?
Because Haley saw it, and so did Jonte and Luke. And in fact, she turned one into the cops and said, "Oh, that was an extra one that he had," because somebody had told the police about her having it. It might have even been me. But when they asked her about it, they said, "Well, bring it in." And so she took it into him. Okay, that's one side of the doorway. That's the right-hand side. And then the other one. You can see the handprint in this one a little bit better than the picture that you have up there. So I'm going to send it to you too. You can actually see where the palm sits against the wall. kind of.
Okay.
Let's see.
Oh yeah, these are fingers.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, they're pretty much plain as day, fingers.
Yep.
All right, hang on. I'm going to see if I can pull them in here. And then okay, in what part of the house were these taken in?
Those were, these were in the living room.
Were they in front of, like, in reference to, do you remember? Oh, you hadn't been in the house when there had been furniture, right?
Nope. But when you walked into the house, you walked right into the living room.
I'm going to pull these.
Where
I'm going to try to pull
Chauncey
these
and
in.
Luke told me these stains was like right in front of where the sofa was.
Do you hear him singing?
Mm-mm.
He's singing "Row, row, row your boat" right now. I put him in his cage.
Funny thing is that stupid woman. See, Ashley had said, my niece Ashley had said that when Valerie claimed that she had to sell the his stuff to pay the rent, Ashley said there's no way, because my dad always had the rent paid at least 1 or 2 months ahead. So that tells me that every stinking penny she got, she kept.
Well, yeah, I remember. See, that's what I'm just wondering.
I knew there was no way she was in that house for no year.
Yeah, no, it was 2016, so it was about 3 or 4 months later. But I'm just, you have to ask yourself, like in any other case, when you have other people doing your dirty work for you, why? Why would they?
Right.
Like, what was it that, that would make somebody do something like that for her? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So,
like I said, I truly, truly, truly believe that the reason that they helped her was because she convinced them that David was going to turn them in. He was going to narc on them. And what's the reason why they killed Nicole?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's all the more reason why
that's exactly what
it adds up, that they were somehow involved, and that's why she would have been down there and saw what happened.
I mean, did she? I mean, you just
one person to
have
come
to ask
forward.
yourself, like, did she hate him that much?
Oh yeah, she did. Look, if she didn't, she would have been on that police post door as soon as he disappeared. He was her money.
Did she get any? Did she get any money from David's death?
Nope.
From him?
She couldn't.
Well,
she couldn't because she had to have him declared legally dead, and she couldn't do it until He'd been dead for 7 years or missing for 7 years. And as long as there was a question as to her being involved, they would have never given her any of the money anyway. I could have stopped it in court if she'd have done that, if she'd have tried it. And I told her, you'll never see a penny of any of his money for his pension or his life insurance. I said, I will see to it that you never get a dime. That money should go to his kids, and it should go to a reward for finding him. For whoever's got big enough cojones to come forward and tell the truth. That's who that money should go to. And trust me, if they're listening, if you know, and you open your mouth, and we find out what happened, and we find out anything about where his body or his remains are, you're going to get a big chunk of whatever he's got. Because I will see to it. Trust me. And I believe that his kids would back me up.
So there's the one picture where you can definitely see. It looks like 3 fingers and part of a palm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other
That's the same picture.
Yeah.
Same picture.
I did. Yeah, I did that. That's okay. I think they get the idea. But there's definitely, something definitely happened in that house. Now,
and why the police say, oh, no, there's no reason to believe that anything happened. Oh, it was a drug house. It was you're going to find stuff like that in a drug house. No, you're not.
Not that much blood. There's no way.
No, you're not. It definitely looks like somebody was murdered in that house.
Well, yeah, especially when you said there was carpet over top that hardwood.
Yeah, there was.
That is definitely
and carpet.
That's definitely like a concentrated area, a concentrated pool of blood. So
I just wish that I had known before they went in and taken the stuff out. And had them, at least take pictures of the back of the carpet and of the pad.
Well, do you remember? Does the neighbor remember from the time when the neighbor came over and she was selling all of David's stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And he seen the refrigerator in the garage that had all of the straps on it, and
Rick,
she wouldn't let him near it. And then the next thing, the refrigerator's gone.
Mm-hmm.
He never seen any type of comings and goings, like how the refrigerator was removed.
No, the refrigerator was in the garage, so he wouldn't have been able to see that from where he was.
Okay.
He was on the opposite side of that side of the house of where the garage was. Now, the neighbor to the right of the house, if you're looking at the house and the neighbor to the right of the house, he wasn't paying attention to nothing. I went over there and talked to them, and they didn't even want to talk to me. And they had surveillance cameras, but they said, oh, you won't find anything on them because they loop every week. But here's the other thing that I don't think I mentioned the other night, but David had cameras all around that house.
What happened to him?
She got rid of them immediately.
Wow.
She wasn't going to leave those cameras up. She probably took them down the day that he disappeared, because Otherwise, there would be evidence of what went on.
Right.
And she'd have never took him down if she thought he was coming back.
Well, yeah, that's
That's
true.
the thing.
How would she have never got rid of all of his stuff?
Exactly.
I mean, she would have never gotten rid of all of his stuff.
No, because if he'd have come back, I know this much. If he'd have come back, he'd have whipped her butt all over town if he'd have come back and his stuff had been sold. She knew that he would have beat her half to death if she'd have done that. She was afraid of him as far as that was concerned. She knew better than to mess with his stuff. Especially
Speaking of stuff, do you want to talk about what you were told this week about the jacket?
Sure. So our buddy Rick, we were having a conversation after the last podcast, and he told me we were talking about, we got on the subject of his daughter. His daughter was killed in a tragic hit and run.
Rick's daughter,
just a few months ago. And so we were talking about that, and he brought up the fact that her and his daughter and this guy named Rodney Clements had been hanging out a lot at David's old house. And I said, "Oh, really?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, and he had David's jacket, his leather jacket. And I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah." He said, he got it from the lady that lived, or actually I said, "Well, where did it, how did he get it?" He said he found it in the basement of the house. They had been hanging out over there, him and his daughter, this Rodney guy and Rick's daughter had been hanging out there quite a bit, and that she gave it to him. And I'm like, wait a minute. That jacket was not in that house when I went in there to do that luminol test. There was nothing in there. I walked through every room in that house. I sprayed luminol all throughout that house. There is no way that I missed that jacket in that house. And there was nowhere in that basement. There were no cabinets, nothing like that. There's nowhere to hide that jacket in that basement. And he said to me that it was pretty dirty and messed up. It was moldy. It was messed up and moldy when he first saw it, but he recognized it immediately as David's jacket. And so I got a hold of my nephew, David's son, Eric, and I said, I said, "Do you know this guy named Rodney Clements?" And he says, "I don't know." So I sent him a picture of him that I had gotten from Amy, and I sent it over to him, and he thought he looked familiar. I said, "Well, okay." I said, "Well, supposedly he was hanging around with Jonte and Luke back when Dave and Valerie lived in the house. And also he was supposedly with H the day that H and Valerie and this Clements guy went over to Rick's to get the battery jumped in the car while she was trying to sell the car to
H told me that she does not know a Rodney.
Yeah,
and I even
said, but like I said, I take everything she tells me with a grain of salt, because I don't know what's true and what's not. Why would Rick make this up?
Well, then
So,
furthermore, then
in the
explain.
middle of a bunch of lies, there's some truth, is all I can say.
So you reached out to your nephew, and then what did your
I
nephew
reached
do?
out to
And
Eric
then,
and I said, Eric, so this guy's got your dad's jacket, according to Rick. So Eric says, okay, I'm going to get a hold of him. And he did, because then I guess it was Sunday or Monday. I'm pretty sure it was Monday that Rick sends me a message telling me that this Clements guy, Rodney, had gotten a hold of him, or I'm sorry, gotten a hold of his wife through text message and said that Rick needed to shut his mouth about what he had seen. Well, I've been trying to get Rick to send me the text message, and he hasn't, because his wife is worried. His wife is afraid. And, after what happened to my brother, I guess I can't blame her for being upset, but.
Well, when I talked to Eric about it, and I asked, because we were trying to figure out how this Rodney would have known that Rick was even discussing the jacket with you. And Eric confirmed to me that, yes, I reached out to Rodney just this week.
Right.
And asked about the jacket. And Eric explained that Rodney told him that ever since Rick's daughter passed away in the car accident, that Rick's had it out for him. But this right here on the right-hand side, Rodney, he's actually, so they were hit by, Rodney was driving, is that correct?
Yeah, that's what you told me, that he was the one driving.
And the daughter, Rick's daughter, was in the car, and she was killed in this tractor trailer accident. And now Rodney is suing the tractor trailer, the driver, and the freight company. And that
wait a minute. Hold on a minute. As I'm reading this statement and jurisdiction, it says he was a passenger in the car.
Okay. Well, I mean, if they were hit, I don't blame him for suing.
I agree.
But I guess my whole point in saying that is, if he, and that's even more clarity, if he was a passenger and not the driver, but if they were hit, regardless to who was driving, does Rick seem to be holding a grudge against him?
No. I know he doesn't like him. He said he's a bum.
Well, we did.
I'm pretty sure he felt that way before that accident happened. It's got nothing to do with the accident.
Well, for lack of a better word, his social media is, Shadow did the research on that, and he's pretty all over the place. He's got 6 or 7 Facebook accounts. You can see right here all of these.
Right, he doesn't stay at all. That's for sure.
He goes by White Boy. Another one of his, I didn't get it in here, but another one of his accounts, he has himself calling himself Slick. Then he goes by Jesse James. And then up here, it's Lost in Talbot.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And here's the thing. I don't know if he's still married to this Lana Clements. But if he is, what the heck was he doing hanging around with Ricky's wife, Rick's daughter, Ricky?
He was still married when this car accident happened. I believe that it was determined that they were separated, but I don't know if they're back together now, because this post right here, Lana Clements, this is just from, that was from 2022.
Right.
But then something else that was interesting and it could just be because, birds of a feather flock together. It could be just coincidental. But well, let's jump ahead really quick, or jump over. No, I didn't put his in there. So we've got let me find it here. Sorry guys, I've got a lot of stuff in this. Some of this presentation I just added to from last week. So we had it all at our fingertips, and I got to remember the order. But connecting back to Talitha and her favorite uncle, her favorite person that she's been arrested with numerous times. Rodney Clements and Mark Palladino were in the Tippecanoe County Jail together as far back as 2009, or I'm sorry, 2010, at the same time. And then this next person that is also affiliated with the same group of people. Now, see, Rodney wasn't friends with David. He was friends with Valerie, correct?
Right.
And the group of people
And
that
get
David.
this, I'm loving what I'm seeing here right now on the screen from 2009, where he was arrested for strangulation, criminal confinement, domestic battery. He sounds like a real great guy.
Yeah.
Strangulation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming this was probably, it may have been a man, but I'm assuming it's a woman that he did this, because it says domestic battery.
A lot of his charges, he does have a lot of charges for domestic battery. I'm going to have to look that up, because I know when Garrett strangled Ashley unconscious,
They call it domestic battery.
in a county over, he was charged with a felony 6 strangulation. I need to see what the difference is between a class D and a felony 6. But yeah, he held Ashley captive in her house too. Duct taped her, hog tied her, put a sock in her mouth, duct taped her mouth, strangled her unconscious multiple times. He had lined the bathtub with plastic and had a saw in there as if he was going to kill her and then dismember her. And
Sound
he was
familiar?
charged. Yeah, he was charged with an F6 and then let out a week and a half later. Had a restraining order slapped on him, and not even a month later broke the restraining order and was able to bond out the same day, and wasn't charged with breaking the restraining order. He was charged with invasion of privacy. But these two, and I don't know how I missed putting it in there, but there's another one. So last week, let's kind of, for those who might be new joining us or those watching the replay, when you go back to the list of the people that let's see here. When you go back to the list of the people that Valerie was inclined to be running around with, you have, here we are. So here are the names of the people that were given to law enforcement to be investigated. And you've got the Dave Grader and the Alex Waters and the Brian Phillips, who Brian Phillips and Alex Waters were roommates. Dave Grader, it was stated by many, was having an affair with Valerie at the time that David went missing. And either at the same time or shortly after, she began having an affair with, sorry guys, I'm bouncing around.
Scott.
I had to put all of this together last night because I had to work today, and I knew I wasn't going to. Thank God I did, because I didn't have time when I got home from work today. But this is Scott, and this was taken off of Valerie's Facebook page. She was seeing this Scott guy, and his name was Scott Lesenwinski. And the two of them, and Dave Grader, and all of these people were all said to possibly have knowledge about David or be involved. And then there's another person who is this guy right here. His name is Jason Bader. And
Who was the victim in this case, not the.
yes, he was.
He's not named in this. It's just.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's not named in this news article, but it is on his Facebook.
Right, he is the victim.
It's talking that he is the victim. He was stabbed in the neck, and from what I read throughout some of these news articles, I think I only put one in here. There's his Facebook where he's sharing it because they're looking for they're looking for the assailant in this. But what I got out of the news articles was that this happened in a hotel room where drugs were being sold out of the hotel room.
Right.
And he, according to his Facebook, he was like a very consistent Facebook poster and constantly on Facebook. But what's interesting about him as well is that between March 11th of 2016 and March 24th of 2016, he made absolutely no Facebook posts. And David went missing on March 15th. But he was a friend of Valerie's. And he also, after David went missing, he started sharing the missing information about David. Yeah, after David was reported missing, he was sharing it. But what I didn't put in here.
Can we pause for a second? Sure. I have a question because, when did he start sharing David's story? What day?
I don't know. That would be a question for Shadow.
Because he wasn't reported missing until I believe it was the 25th. It was 10 days after. So if he started sharing it on the 24th, then that's
no, I don't believe. I don't know. I don't believe that he did. He didn't make any posts.
Let's see.
He made no posts between March 11th and March 24th.
Let me go back and look at the calendar real quick.
He was not in jail. However, he was in jail with Mark Palladino and Rodney Clements in Tippecanoe County. All three of them were in jail together at the same time. And it was not for the same charges. They were in there on their own separate charges. But those small county jails are, you're not going to be in jail with someone and you not meet them. That does not mean that the three of them became buddy-buddy after the fact. It's just a connection.
Right. I'm looking at my calendar from 2016.
Thank you, Shadow. Shadow says, I think they are the same felonies they used to go by Class A, B, C, and D. Felonies now in Indiana, they go by levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, or whatever. And she says, but it says Class D felony is equivalent to a level 6 felony. So they charged him with the same thing that they charged Garrett with. But what I don't understand is how that is not in Indiana considered attempted murder.
It is. It should be.
I mean, it should be. Like if you shoot at someone and you hit them, but they don't die, I mean, that's attempted murder. If you strangle someone,
get charged with Class D felony here and or a level 6 felony. It blows my mind these days what they've done to the charges. It's like they've watered them down.
Well, I mean, I only can attest to this simply because I worked for the police department and I worked in the radio room.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you work in a radio room, especially, back then I was working most of the time on second shift, which is your busiest shift. That's when, your downtown is busy, your bars are busy. You've got, especially on a Friday and a Saturday night, people have gotten their paycheck. They're sitting at home, they're drinking, domestic violence, erupts, and you've got special duty officers clocking in all over the city. And, when you take a call that shakes you, because there was many that did, you tend to follow the case.
Mm-hmm.
When you go into work, you can pull up any run if you have the address or the date or the badge number of the officers that were dispatched on the run. We can, in the radio room, we can look them up, and because you always want to know what the hell happened. And
Right.
I know here where I live, you just don't see cases like this, people walking out the door for strangulation, you know, severe domestic violence, things like this. And when, in Indiana, when you look at Garrett Kurtz, him being let out when he was let out, within a matter of 30 days, he's killed 2 more people.
Right.
And it's just, it's, now it's in the atmosphere. It's lost on everybody. No one's taking responsibility. Like, why, you know, and on top of all of that, he's arrested in, um, he's arrested in Delphi, Carroll County, for the
Mm-hmm.
strangulation. He breaks the restraining order. Then he's arrested in Tippecanoe County with all kinds of drugs and paraphernalia, driving a car that doesn't belong to him and without a driver's license. Yet he's let out that same night without going before a judge. And he's literally out on bond. I don't know how Indiana's system is set up, but our lead system here, when you pull up someone's name, you're going to get every county within the state. If they have a warrant or if they're out on bond, that's going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when he was arrested in Tippecanoe County, just a couple of counties over, he's out on bond for strangulation.
Right.
And then violating a restraining order, and they let him out again.
Right.
That doesn't make it. I don't understand it.
It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. Even back then, I thought this was just I see things are getting worse every day. It's getting worse and worse. But even back then, it was, 8 years ago, it was pretty bad. Even before all this crap with the new crap with the cops has started. It's just been worse and worse. It's all been leading up to this, though. But I wanted to point out that I was just looking back at my calendar from 2016, and actually the day that would have been the day that I reported David missing would have been the 28th of March. Okay,
I don't know. I don't know if Shadow has the ability right this moment to go back and see when Bader started sharing David's that Facebook post. You know
Right.
what what Facebook post was he sharing of David's? Was it coming from Kim or was it a news? I don't think that the news would have created a Facebook post, so it might have.
No, but I was showing the news reports on Facebook back then.
Okay.
I wonder if he was sharing that post, or if it was just a post that he did himself, or if it was something Valerie posted, or who knows.
Shadow said she's looking.
Okay.
In other was a couple other things that I wanted to go over. So for those who are listening or those who might be listening on the replay, some of these names like Jason Harrigan, Jason Harrigan admitted to law enforcement that after David went missing and Valerie became a suspect, they had wanted her to come in and take a lie detector test. And apparently she had Jason Harrigan shoot her up with heroin, before she went in to take the lie detector test. He admitted to doing that. And then dropping to the next name, Bill
He admitted
Muse.
to police that he did that. She
Right.
admitted to the police that he had done that. And so did he.
So, and that's Jason Harrigan, which that's not, I don't think that photo of him is a very old photo, but he just appears to me to be an awful young guy to be hanging around someone Valerie's age. Would you agree?
Well, here's an interesting tidbit about Jason and Jared. And there's another brother as well. Jason and Jared are twins. Jason and his brothers were like stepchildren to David. David dated their mother when they were kids.
That's right.
So
Okay.
that's why they were hanging around, and they lived right across the street as well. They were neighbors with Rick Scripter. Okay. Now, this is someone you could check into regarding this case too. I just remembered about her. Speaking of ex-girlfriends, there was a woman named Wendy Kallenberger.
Okay.
And I have some very interesting texts from her about David's case. And the last of which was that I could go F myself because she's not talking because she's got family and kids and grandkids and she don't want them getting killed. That she's had threats made to her, in other words.
Oh, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't have said her name.
Well, I don't know her, first of all.
Was she an ex? Go ahead.
She and I had talked all through for like 4 or 5 years. We had talked about this case together.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden she just was like, I don't want to deal with it anymore. And when I pressed her for why, that's when she said, that's what she came up with. But see, I thought her brother was kind of a person of interest, and I had started asking her questions about him.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did, that's when she decided she didn't want to talk to me anymore.
Okay.
But she was an ex-girlfriend of David's who I was told by Valerie. Valerie told me that Wendy had told David that she was pregnant by him and that her baby was a boy, and she was pregnant, but whether it was David's or not, I have no idea. This is just what Valerie told me. But that Wendy said that it was David's baby and that David was staying with her, or I don't know if he was living with her or staying with her, but while they were asleep one night, the baby died in its sleep of SIDS. And after that happened, David left her. And he didn't want nothing more to do with her. So I don't know what that deal was. David never mentioned her to me, but she was the one that reached out to me to begin with. And she said that she tried to go to Valerie's house a couple of times. You know, all these people have cars. It just blows my mind. I don't know how they get around. They get people to take them. You know, they hitch rides with other people, but none of them own vehicles, so I don't know who's driving them around. Maybe this guy Scott's got an Uber job or something, and he's running them all over town. Who knows? But she said that she tried to get Valerie to come pick her up. She wanted to go spend some time with her because she was going to try to pump her for information, which Valerie would have never told her anything. She was an idiot if she thought that. But so anyway, I think it would be a good idea to check into this person. And she only told me about one brother, so I believe that's all she has is one brother. So just wanted to interject that before I forgot about it.
Okay. Yeah, I wrote the names down.
Okay.
Wendy and the Billy.
But so according to what I thought I knew about this Jason Harrigan, was that he was in jail supposedly when David went missing, but Jared was not. But Jason supposedly shot Valerie up. Unless he went to jail right after that.
I feel like we have that. I feel like we have that information. And
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken, Shadow, it was told to me that now I could, Shadow, I know you've got.
Here's another thing though that really blows my mind is he's got a teardrop tattooed just below his eye. And if anybody knows what that is, that's a sign. That's supposed to mean that they've murdered someone.
Yes, that's what Jasmine Parker had put on her face after she got released from Nicole's charges. But if I remember correctly,
it's like a badge of honor.
Jason Harrigan was in the Carroll County Jail and was in there at the same time with H. That H. And they were known to be a couple. Let me text
H. That's a different H. Remember?
You would have to text me the two different last names because the last name that I'm
I don't know the name of the one that he was with. I only know the
one that I'm talking about is the last name starts with an R.
Yeah, that's the one that I know.
Yeah.
The H that he was with, I have no idea what her last name is.
Gotcha. Okay.
I only know her by her first name, and her first name is spelled differently than RH.
Okay, so the H with the last initial R, was she supposedly with Jason Harrigan when he shot Valerie up?
No.
Okay.
No, that H was already gone by then.
Okay.
I'm going to send you a picture of both of them, both H's.
Okay. Well, and it's pretty sad, and it's just sad that I'm thorough, and I know how to research. I went to school to be a paralegal, ended up getting recruited into the police department. But it's sad that it takes this kind of legwork to get answers. And some people get caught up in the mud when that's not the intention. But if people would just, I understand that they, if somebody would, in any of these situations, if people would just speak up, you know, or go to the police. I don't even know if that helps in some cases, but anonymously, our emails are going across the bottom of the screen. You have information, you know, we don't necessarily need your name. It's
Right.
just
I don't
finding
care who you
the
are. Just
answer.
tell somebody.
At this point in this case, what it's about is um, bringing David home so he can have a proper burial. And
Right.
it's a pretty much obvious situation that the police are not interested in closing this file out and putting another notch on their belt for closing a cold case. So they kind of leave the family with no choice. And for me, this is even, when it comes to Talitha and her affiliates on the other end of this, it's a whole new ball game to prove the capabilities of her and who she's affiliated with and what they're willing to do and how far they're willing to go. And because I believe that her and Jason Palladino were the masterminds behind Nicole.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Garrett do the dirty work, and Garrett got Ashley caught up in the mix of it and then made her the fall guy. And and there may never be any justice when it comes to Talitha. Talitha right now is serving more time for being an habitual offender than she is for her assisting criminal charges in Nicole's case. But in all actuality, I believe she was the co-conspirator.
Of any of it.
And, we're kind of left with no choice in the matter.
Right. Let's see. Where's that picture?
Okay, I'm going to forward this to.
What did I do with that picture?
Shadow, I'm sending this your way. Just in case you don't have it already. Because I believe we had found a couple, and I think I sent you the pictures, and you had said, no, not the right one. I don't think the picture that you just sent me. Yeah, the picture that you just sent me, I don't think I've ever seen that one before.
Yeah, that's HR.
Right. And exactly. Shadow said that is the one that we have been unable to locate that we thought possibly had gotten married. So, does anybody in the chat have any questions, or if you're a part of the replay group? It's been fluctuating. Right now, we've got like 8 actively watching.
Okay.
It's a Friday night, and I know there's a couple of big YouTubers on tonight. I think covering some Delphi stuff. So our replay crew will probably be it'll increase later.
Just maybe an hour or so before, maybe a couple hours before we started. So there wasn't a lot of notice of it today. And I forgot to say anything about it yesterday. And all of a sudden I was like, oh crap, I need the link so I can go on and let people know that we're doing it tonight.
Well, you can post it after, and people do come on, and I leave the comments on. So anybody who's watching in the replay crew, please, if you have any information, email one of us. If you have a question about the case, leave a comment. We leave the comments on. So Kim's just wanting to bring her brother home after all this time and give him a proper burial and have a place to, you know, put a headstone up. That's
Place
what.
to show our respects. And not only, it's not just about David now for me. It's also about Ashley because there's just way too many coincidences between the two for them not to be somehow connected. And as much as I'm asking for help for other people, from other people to help me, I'm just as willing to help others if I'm capable of. If I was even 30 years younger, I would, or even if I was even 10 years younger, I could get out there and do some of this myself. As far as helping with other cases and trying to help other families. But at this point, with what I've had going on, I don't know if that'll ever be the case again. So,
Right.
Well,
Ashley's case is, that, her case is now in the hand. It's going to be in the hands of the court again. It's just the information, working on this diligently for a year with her. There was so much about her own case that she didn't know. And she didn't, I don't even think until several months after Nicole's life was taken, did she really understand that she had been put in that position on purpose. I think,
and
you know what I mean? And right. And, there's been so many times that I've come up, when I've uncovered something and, and it's so hard when you're in prison, you are so limited to, and don't get me wrong. I mean, if you're guilty, you deserve to be where you are.
Right.
But there are, the Innocent Project and, wrongful convictions,
Those
happen.
projects are there
They happen for a reason, and they don't happen because a lawyer sitting in his office. That's what people need to understand. A lawyer sitting in his office bored on a Friday afternoon thinking, what can I do this weekend? I ain't got nothing to do. He decides to pull a name out of the hat and say, oh, let me see if I can get this person out of prison. It doesn't work that way.
No.
It takes someone who ends up having a connection in one way, shape, or another to somebody in prison who is screaming that they're innocent to pay attention. And trust me, I am not a gullible person. I'm not a stupid person. There are plenty of people in prison who claim to be innocent, but they don't have any evidence to back it up. And in Ashley's case, whatever I can uncover about the people who were involved in this situation, that in post-conviction relief, if this is not going to help her in post-conviction relief. This would help her in an evidentiary hearing or a new trial. Having information about, this person, but you have to have proof. And my job right now is to get the information out there, change public opinion, and put a little bit of pressure on people to step up and have a voice. And since I've covered her case, I've had, and like I said, there's a lot of information that I have that I've not spoke on. And I sat on this Talitha information for months. And Shadow and I worked diligently for weeks literally pounding the internet trying to get information to see, is this real? Did this person who sent us this information? Because like I said, I had no idea. I had never heard of your brother's case.
Right. And that upsets me in itself, because this should have been all over the news back then. Nobody knows about it. I'm sitting here all this time thinking people know about this case. Somebody's going to come up with something somewhere. And they don't.
Hey, Toby Garth. Hey, Toby. That's Ashley's dad.
Toby.
Under your scars. That's okay. But there's some things in the works in Ashley's case, and I have quite a bit. There's some things in the works in Ashley's case, along with, we're waiting on some answers on that end of it. But and I don't expect this road
to be easy.
To justice to be easy. It never is. The system. That's something that, if you've ever followed a wrongful conviction case or been close to one, you understand that in this country, that the justice system is not designed to let you out. That is why it is
Their job is to keep you locked up.
Right. That is why it is so important. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, who jump off, and the prime example right now is the Delphi case. It's relevant for the simple fact that people are taking sides. And, I just told a good friend of mine last night, actually, who has a YouTube channel, who is very pro-prosecution, and that's fine. However, in the Delphi case, if you want, justice should come very clean and accurate. It shouldn't take games. It shouldn't take, prosecutors trying to hide information, or, the defense's job is to defend vigorously. That is the oath they take to the bar. They are to defend their client vigorously. Ashley Garth would not be in prison right now if she had attorneys like Richard Allen does right now. And that's not because Richard Allen's attorneys are blowing smoke. Richard Allen's attorneys are using the evidence that the state has provided them, and they're uncovering every stone, which is as it should be. But when you're going to take someone's civil liberties away for the rest of their life, it has to be 100% for sure. Because once that gavel comes down and someone is found guilty, it is hell to get them out. So I just basically, I respect my friend, but at the same time, I'm like, I would love to see you cover that case from the middle. I have no dog in the fight. If I believe Richard Allen is the man on the bridge, but I also believe that there's a great possibility that others were involved. The way the charges are set up right now, if he is the man on the bridge and he took them off that bridge, he's guilty of murder, because those two little girls ended up losing their life. So he was involved in a felony act that ended in the death. So he is guilty. But that doesn't mean that because the judge doesn't like the defense and what evidence or what theory they're going with, she is the gatekeeper of the law. She is the gatekeeper of the rule. It is her job to make sure that both sides play fair, and everything should be ruled based on the law. And right now, I don't see her ruling that way. I see her denying every single motion that the defense requests. With, it's one thing to deny a motion, but she's not denying motions with any kind of legal foundation, or she's not citing any legal rule of law at all to back up her rulings, which at the end of the day, if Richard Allen is found guilty, this is going to appeal, no doubt. And they're not going to look at the evidence. They're going to look at what the trial court did. And if she's not leaving that record strong enough to support her rulings, she could possibly flip this case on its head. And, then, and if he is guilty, then what? So it's just,
Right.
that's just my opinion. But, the justice system is not designed to let people out. But it needs to be as strong on the front end as it is on the back end, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Now I'm looking at the picture that I just pulled up of the other H, and I just sent it to you. I'm going to say that I think that could be Jared, not Jason. Now
Which
that I'm
one?
looking at it,
No, that's Jason.
is it? Well, they're identical twins.
Cherie, you're right. I mean, I can't believe she's acting the way that she is either. And whatever what is the word I'm looking for? Whatever desire she had to get on the Indiana Supreme Court, I believe that she's blowing it. There is absolutely, literally, I visualize Judge Gall sitting in her bed, munching on chips, and watching these motions come in, and she's sitting there laughing and going, "Nope, denied. Nope, denied." There's no rhyme or reason to what she's doing, and she needs to give Richard Allen every benefit of the doubt. She needs to make sure that she dots all of her I's and crosses her T's if she doesn't want a verdict in her courtroom to be overturned on appeal. There's no reason she can't be handling this the correct way. And I mean, after, Judge Gall, and after 7 years that these families have gone through this, and the mishandling of the case with Richard Allen living right there in Delphi, working at the CVS, and them missing him, this should not be happening right now. This is a circus. Oh, yes, you're right. With the long hair,
Yeah.
to Jared, yeah. Yep.
It's hard to tell because that's a younger picture of them, and they are identical. Let me see if I can find Jared's page. There it is.
And you say Jared and Jason lived across the street from that Lafayette address, right?
Yes.
Gotcha. Let me see here. Well, I think we've covered about everything that we had loose ends wise tonight.
I think so. As far as what we have so far, hopefully some new information will come in, hopefully on both cases. Hopefully somebody will get their heads out of their butts and do the right thing.
Right. That would be great. And hopefully, and over the next couple of weeks, we'll continue to keep looking, and then we can. I mean, if you need my suggestions, if not, it's okay. But if you need my suggestions and drafting an email to Holman about the information that you would like to have. It would be nice to see him say, "What do you need?" You know,
Right.
if there are, I'm just wondering if there are any kind of interrogation videos in this case. If when if do you know, did Valerie ever go in and actually be interrogated, or was it just they came to the house and she talked and then she was supposed to go take a lie detector test? Do you know?
She was just supposed to, as far as I know, she did go in for questioning. They asked her to come in and take a polygraph test more than once.
I don't
Her
recall.
last name was still Kallenberger, but she went by so many stupid names.
Well, Cherie, I believe her maiden name was Doll,
Yes,
Doll,
Doll.
and she had a twin sister named Dorothy.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
her first married name was McCutcheon. McCutchen.
Right.
And then her final name was Kallenberger. But sometimes she would go under Valerie Dahl Kallenberger, Valerie McCutcheon Kallenberger, Valerie Dahl McCutcheon, Valerie Dahl McCutcheon Kallenberger. Just felt it was just whatever way the wind blew her butt.
So we have her. Okay, so Cherie, Cherie's from Cherie works with me on Ashley's case, and she's an attorney, and she is from New York. So Cherie, Valerie's. So here's how the story goes. David's cousin was in prison, and Valerie happened to be her roommate, cellmate in prison. That is how David initially met Valerie. Now, Valerie's story is that her twin sister Dorothy was unalived by a boyfriend. And we do have Dorothy's obituary, but we cannot find any kind of a case, news article, or anything about her death, how she died. And apparently, Valerie was.
I know what she died from.
Who? Dorothy?
Oh, you're talking about Valerie.
I'm talking about the twin sister.
Dorothy.
Yes.
Okay.
So Dorothy was supposedly unalived by a boyfriend. Valerie claims that she, in revenge, murdered the boyfriend. Can't find any information on that. I've looked in Arizona, which is where Valerie claims to be from, and I've looked in Chicago, where supposedly she was in prison. Now, I did find a case on her where she was sentenced to some time in prison, but it's not on the amount of time is not actually on the case. But it was for perjury that she got sentenced for. So we have still been trying to track this down because we do know that she was in prison. And I don't know, Kim, David's cousin that was in prison, was that prison in Chicago for sure?
No,
Because
that was the one that was in Gary,
Indiana, right? So I don't know if you have any.
Her name was Amber Updegraft.
What is it?
Updegraft.
Amber. How do you spell that? Up to graft.
Let me look it up.
Because she might be easy to find. She might be easy to find, and if we can find her, we might be able to find Valerie and where she was. Valerie.
Her her name was, remember the post that you sent to me from what's it called? From when Valerie died, and her brother Kevin had sent that post or made that post. There was a post in there also, in that string of posts that you sent to me, where she had or her husband, remember I said her husband was on there saying that she had passed away the year before.
Right.
It's UP, just how it sounds. UPTAGRAFFT.
Okay. AFF. Okay.
Yes.
Say
I'm
one more time.
Sure I'm pretty positive. Like, I'm going to say 99% positive that that's the cousin that they're talking about that was in jail with her.
Okay, so say it one more time. UPTAGRAFF
T.
What? T. Okay, up to graft. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And she has passed away, but I believe it's her husband, Michael Updegraft, was the one who sent that post and said he was still struggling, blah, blah, blah. He mailed out a card to her the morning that she passed.
So you're saying that this Amber Updegraff is the one who she's passed too?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, because sometimes when someone's, I don't know how it happens.
Maybe if you tried to reach out to Kevin Dahl, you could probably get more information out of him than you could anybody else.
Right.
Although I know he was in prison until a few years ago. He had just got out. He was still in prison when David went to jail, or when David went to jail, when David went missing. David's never been to jail, by the way. He never had any criminal history. That's amazing for someone who grew up and lived that many years in Indiana. Especially from there.
Okay, so
especially being with Valerie that long.
Let me see. Let me turn this down. Oh, she is passed. Thank you, Cherie. Amberlyn Updegraft did pass. October, well, let's see.
What I want to know is who all these people are that Holman said are deceased that was involved in David's case. That's the $1 million question for me. I'm wanting to know too about, is Biker Bill still around? Is Bill that lived with the one that H said all those things to Valerie? Is he still alive? You know, have they brought any of these people back in and asked them, re-questioned them? I'm sure they would say they had no cause to, because that's about their answer to everything.
You know what's so funny about her obituary?
Whose obituary?
It doesn't have Amber Updegraft's. It doesn't have her. It doesn't have her death date. It has when the funeral home unless that is her death date, which is October 11th, 2022.
Well, if you pay attention to the text from Michael, it says, "Sorry for your loss. I know it's hard. Amber Updegraft passed on October 1st."
Okay, well, this obituary, it says, was on October 11th.
Amber Updegraft passed on October 1, and I'm still struggling. Well, duh, she's only been dead for 10 days. I mailed out a card to you that she did the morning she passed. So, in other words, because Valerie died in November. So apparently Amber had sent a card or done a card up for Valerie.
I read that. Yeah.
They were still in contact with each other, leading me to believe even more that yes, this is that I have it right, that she's the one that was in prison.
They were in prison together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Huh. Unbelievable. That's David's cousin. And they knew what happened.
And what? Do you know how Amber died?
No idea. No idea. Probably drugs as well. I don't know that for sure, but that's just par for the course in that group of people. They're either murdered or they die of either drugs or drug-related injury.
Well, okay, so hang on. Cherie just found another one.
Another one what?
Another obituary.
Okay.
And let's see. This is probably right. This one right here. October 1st, 2022. Daughter of Sharon Hugel and Donnie Allen.
What state is she in? Was she in?
Well, let me see if I can get an address. It looks like this. Michigan?
Well, that would make sense because, Gary's right up there by the Michigan line.
I wonder if she was actually in prison in Michigan.
They were in prison together.
That's what I'm saying. I can't see, and unless it's because Valerie has passed, and that happened to be, hey,
that was like a little over a year ago.
Yeah, that's the problem. We can't. So we have to, to see. We just can't figure out why Valerie was in prison.
Well, we found out why Valerie was in prison, remember? We just didn't find out. We just didn't find out whether she was in prison in Chicago. We found out why she was in prison in Gary.
That was for perjury.
Right. But we couldn't find out whether she was in prison in Chicago.
Right. Cherie, do you have a handy dandy button? we've looked everywhere, but that we might be able to, through Amber Updegraff, we might be able to
I wish
find
I could
out.
remember Ada's niece's. Well, she probably wouldn't know. I'm telling you, Ashley knew a lot of this stuff. I'm so upset that I can't seem to get you two connected, and it's not for lack of trying on your part. I spoke to her mother in a text today, and she said that she's off with a friend for a few days. So
That's what I was told. Okay, well,
you know what that means, more than likely.
Miss Amber Updegraff has 0 criminal record on file
So then it's not her.
in Indiana.
Okay. Let me see.
So
Let me see if I can get a hold of Eric real quick and see if he knows.
all right, hang on. I wonder why it would come up like that. Hold on. No, she does.
Oh, she does?
Let me switch back here. Hey, Cherie, what's her on that second one that you posted? No, yes, Cherie, actual prison. On the second obituary, what's her middle name? And we need it. Oh, crap. Hold on. Okay. No. So, to graph. Okay. Nope. This is not her. Her middle name, that woman's middle name, Lynn, right? Lynn. And this one on here is Updegraff, Updegr.
Mm.
So we have to keep looking.
Let me look on Facebook. I could have swore I was friends with her on Facebook.
Hey, buddy.
For some reason.
I know. What's the matter?
Amber Updegraff.
Yeah, I can't find any. Like if you do a search on Valerie McCutcheon, Valerie Dahl McCutcheon, because all of there's no need to do a search on Valerie Kallenberger because this prison stint was before she met David. I can't find any kind of a case on her at all, for especially anything on a murder.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, are you? We can call it a night.
Yeah, that was his wife, Michael Updegraff. It was his wife. It's showing a picture of her.
Okay.
A video actually of her. And let me see. Let me go back. Okay, that is her. About info. So she was from Charlevoix, Michigan, or she visited there. I'm sorry. She was from, it looks like she studied at Ivy Tech Community College. So that would have been Lafayette. She's not showing any. Let me look at her husband. Maybe that'll give us an idea. Let's see. Don't get sidetracked, Kim.
Well, she was 56 and her middle name is Lynn, so that.
Let's see.
That'll help a little bit.
I can't see his friends. So let's see. Yep, it's got to be her because her husband worked at Chrysler Twinsburg, Ohio, stamping, it says. He was a former CNC machine operator in Newcastle, Indiana. That's where he went to school in high school. They lived in St. Clair Shores, Michigan for a while. Or that's where he lives now, it says. Married to Amber Updegraft. Let's see.
Yeah, Cherie, I think so too. It might fall off. I mean, I don't know if it's something that it's some sort of a program they run in the system that when someone is released, they remove it, or I mean, I don't know how they would do it. I can't imagine them running like social security numbers once every so often of of the deceased to see if they had a criminal record that they would delete. But I know, like in Nicole's case, a lot of Nicole's cases are missing that a year ago were on file and now they're not. So I don't know if that's, some states do that or some state, I don't know how that works. So, well, Kim, send me what you got and
Okay.
we'll hop off here and let everybody go.
Yep, let everybody go back and enjoy the rest of their
Friday night.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you everybody for coming on again, and if you hear anything, let me know or let Amy know, and keep your ears to the ground.
Thank you guys. Have a good night. Hit that
Thank
like
you.
button on the way out the door, please.
Thanks,
See you later.
Amy. Good night.
You're welcome. Good night.